Our journey of discovery today will take you through dense, ancient jungles, where we'll listen to strange legends and come face to face with mysteries that have never been solved. So, fasten your seatbelt as we dive into today's mystery. But first, you'll have incredible luck if you like, and subscribe before this video ends. Legends, mysterious creatures, and strange phenomena in the jungle. In the mystical land of Indonesia, stories continue to circulate about the existence of a bizarre being known as the Jenglot. No one really knows where it came from, but its appearance alone is enough to make anyone shudder upon encountering it. People say that the Jenglot is a tiny creature, its skin shriveled and dry like that of a mummy, with tangled hair trailing all the way down to its heels, and, most notably, long, sharp fingernails reaching out like the claws of Wolverine. Upon its withered face, a pair of vampire-like fangs stand out, a detail that only adds to the unsettling nature of the legend. Among the local people, it is rumored that the Jenglot is not merely a disturbing decoration. According to the beliefs of many, anyone who possesses this creature must feed it fresh blood every single day, or else disaster will befall them. Some say that the Jenglot can hide itself in the darkness at the heart of the city, bringing misfortune to anyone who happens to come into contact with it. There are also tales suggesting that the Jenglot was once a human being who practiced dark magic, seeking immortality, but in the end was cursed and transformed into the grotesque form it bears today. Even as the stories about the Jenglot have become more widespread, to this day, there has never been any scientific evidence to confirm its existence. Occasionally, so-called Jenglot specimens can be seen on display at fairs or exhibitions in Indonesia and Malaysia, attracting crowds of curious onlookers. However, these specimens have never been seriously studied by scientists. The question of the Jenglot, whether it is simply the product of imagination or if it truly exists somewhere, lying hidden and waiting for the day it will appear, remains one of the enduring mysteries that continues to fascinate and haunt those who hear tales of the ancient jungles of Southeast Asia. The chicken bone curse in Athens. In the heart of ancient Athens, a city once considered the cradle of Western knowledge and power, archaeologists uncovered an artifact so unsettling that anyone who lays eyes on it can't help but shudder. It was a small clay jar, covered in the dust of time and buried deep underground for more than 2,300 years. But inside this jar were not treasures or the usual ritual offerings. Instead, it contained the bones of a young chicken that had been decapitated, lying among dozens of names meticulously carved all over the jar's surface. These names were not meant to honor or commemorate. They were, in fact, a list of people who had been cursed, victims of a dark spell that once made the entire city of Athens tremble during the chaotic period following the death of Alexander the Great. The use of a young chicken in these cursing rituals was no accident. The image of a decapitated chicken carried deep symbolic meaning, representing weakness and helplessness, exactly what the spellcaster wished to inflict upon their enemies. It was a message of paralysis, stripping the target of all ability to defend themselves or fight back. Alongside the chicken bones, a large iron nail had been driven straight through the jar. This was a signature feature of Athenian curse magic, rooted in the belief that the iron nail would lock in and permanently bind the fates of those whose names were inscribed. A close study of the carved inscriptions on the jar revealed that it was likely created by a group of people working together, possibly allies in a bitter lawsuit or rivals entangled in fierce professional disputes. At that time, Athenian society was in turmoil, filled with hidden political rivalries and endless legal battles. The chicken bone jar was crafted in hopes of weakening, bringing misfortune upon, or even completely robbing the luck of those on the opposing side of a conflict. The discovery of this cursed jar not only illuminates a forgotten fragment of Athenian customs, beliefs, and fears, but also reveals the darker side of a society once so proud of its rational thought and scientific achievements. These ancient magical practices remind us that no matter how far history has advanced, there has always been a deep-rooted human obsession with the unexplainable, and that the power of belief can sometimes surpass even the boundaries of reason. Discovering new biodiversity in Surinam. In the heart of Surinam, where the boundaries of the modern world seem never to have reached, there exists a stretch of ancient rainforest that has remained untouched and wild for thousands of years. This is a place that scientists have described as a gateway to Earth's past, where towering trees form a canopy that blocks out the sky, and every step taken may bring you face to face with something that has never been seen before. On a research expedition that lasted several weeks, more than 50 scientists and their local collaborators trekked through dense forests, crossed rivers, and pushed their way through thick vegetation in order to document every beat of the ecosystem's life. The results astonished the world. No fewer than 46 entirely new species of animals and insects were recorded. These included frogs sporting vivid colors never seen before, fish whose scales shimmered like silver beneath sunlight that filtered through the leaves, and insects with such unusual shapes that even seasoned experts were left wondering how these creatures had adapted to such a harsh environment. But the significance of these discoveries went far beyond mere variety of form. Each new finding opened the door to countless mysteries about survival, about life cycles, and about the extraordinary interconnections that bind together all the species in the rainforest's food chain and ecosystem. Every newly discovered species not only added to the rich biological tapestry of Surinam, but also became an important piece of the puzzle helping humanity understand the true value of the world's shrinking ancient forests. The achievement of that journey was not simply a list of new names in the animal kingdom, but a living testament to the resilience and enduring vitality of nature in the face of constant change. In the moments when researchers recorded the details of these strange creatures, the forests of Surinam were transformed from an unknown wilderness into a repository of ancient secrets, a place that calls upon us to remember our responsibility to protect and cherish every inch of land, every small living thing on Earth. The discovery of dozens of new species in Surinam's primeval forests is also a powerful reminder of the wonders still hidden beneath the dense canopy, waiting for the day when the light of science will finally reveal them. This is the endless power and value of nature, of biodiversity, that humankind has only just begun to explore. The legend of the flying snake of Namibia. Deep within the wild landscapes of Africa, the legend of the flying snake of Namibia has, for generations, stirred both curiosity and a lingering sense of dread. Unlike the familiar mythical creatures of the Western world, the dragon of Africa takes on a very distinct form. It is said to be a giant snake, sometimes reaching lengths of up to 8 meters, its entire body covered in golden brown scales that glisten like metal in the sunlight. Its most striking features are a pair of large horns rising from its head and a broad, flared neck, making it appear born not only to intimidate, but to command the gaze of anyone who happens to cross its path. The fear grows even greater as locals tell stories of how, when night falls, the snake's body glows brilliantly, giving off an eerie, cold emerald light. Some say the flying snake of Namibia can launch itself from cliff faces, spreading wings of thin skin like a giant bat, soaring across valleys or through sparse forests, sometimes accompanied by strange, booming roars and a distinctive odor, said to resemble a mix of tar and damp earth. There are even those who swear they have seen it shine in the darkness, then shoot skyward like a blazing streak of fire, leaving behind tales that have never received a clear or satisfying explanation. Yet, the true origin of this legend remains a mystery. Some believe the flying snake of Namibia is the embodiment of ancestral spirits or protective deities of the land. A number of modern researchers lean toward the theory that the legend may have sprung from encounters with real, but rarely seen, animals, such as the African rock python, which can reach enormous sizes, or the giant monitor lizards that roam the deep forests. Others suggest that mysterious encounters are simply products of collective imagination, retold so many times that fact and legend have become inseparable. Some naturalists have attempted to explain the snake's strange glow as a form of bioluminescence, similar to that found in certain insects or deep-sea fish. Yet, to this day, no one has produced concrete evidence for the existence of the flying snake of Namibia. All that remains are the stories passed down by word of mouth, images colored by fear and hope, ensuring that the legend of Africa's dragon continues to soar in the imagination, hovering somewhere between reality and the world of mysteries that no one has yet unraveled. The mysterious abandoned hotel. Hidden among the lush green hills along the Atlantic coast, the Skeleton Hotel is one of the strangest abandoned structures in all of Brazil. From a distance, the building rises up like a giant skeleton stretching itself in the middle of the jungle, its bare concrete frames and wide, empty windows opening out to the vast ocean, as if keeping watch over the passage of time. The original idea for this place was nothing short of grand. It was meant to be the most luxurious resort in the region, a destination where visitors could enjoy fresh air in the heart of the rainforest, gaze out across the endless sea, and escape the noise and dust of the city. Construction began in the 1950s, fueled by dreams of a modern, lavish paradise atop the mountain. Yet, the fate of the hotel turned out to be far less fortunate than people had hoped. The project was plagued by financial difficulties from the start, with construction dragging on for decades before finally grinding to a halt when all funding ran out. Since then, the 16-story building, left unfinished with incomplete staircases and endless, deserted corridors, has been surrendered to nature and the ravages of time. Its concrete walls, exposed to sun and rain, have become weathered and overgrown with thick vines, transforming the place into a ghostly presence in the middle of the forest. Over the years, the Skeleton Hotel has ceased to be the symbol of prosperity it was originally meant to be. Instead, it has gradually become a refuge for drifters and, at times, even for groups of criminals seeking to evade the law. For locals, the hotel quickly took on an air of mystery, becoming the subject of countless chilling stories and rumors about strange happenings that were said to have occurred within its cold, dark rooms. Today, Skeleton has become a destination for thrill seekers and explorers, especially photographers, filmmakers, and tourists who crave a taste of the unknown. The empty corridors echo with the sound of footsteps, and the wind-filled windows that look out over the sea can leave visitors both exhilarated and awed by the eerie, captivating desolation. Between the rainforest and the ocean, the Skeleton Hotel remains, a silent reminder of unfinished dreams and of the darkness that sometimes lingers behind even the most ambitious attempts to create a paradise. The city of Palenque, hidden beneath layers of alluvial soil along the banks of the Ping River, the city of Palenque was once the heart of a flourishing civilization in the history of ancient Thailand. More than 7 centuries ago, King Mengrai, the founder of the Lanna Kingdom, chose this very place as his new capital, hoping to usher in an era of prosperity. Yet, in less than a decade, all those plans were swept away by the unforgiving power of nature. The Ping River, with its endless cycle of floods, engulfed Palenque, forcing the royal court to move the capital to higher ground, an area we know today as Chiang Mai. From that day forward, Palenque was forgotten, left abandoned beneath the recurring floods, buried in mud and silt for more than 700 years. No one remembered the once bustling city, nor did anyone see the grand temples or the winding stone roads that once traced the river's edge. Over time, tree roots and layers of sediment covered everything, leaving behind a great mystery for future generations, a once prosperous capital that vanished as quickly as it had arisen. It was not until 1984 that Palenque resurfaced, when archaeologists discovered ancient stone slabs and pottery fragments just a few kilometers from the center of Chiang Mai. This discovery sparked an excavation that lasted for many years, gradually unveiling the remnants of a forgotten golden age. Old temples slowly emerged from the earth, along with the city walls and the foundations of residential areas buried deep beneath thick layers of soil. To date, more than 30 sites of various sizes have been uncovered, revealing that Palenque was not merely a temporary capital, but a vibrant religious and cultural center with a network of temples, neighborhoods, and sprawling suburbs stretching along the riverbanks. Today, Palenque has become a must-see destination for anyone passionate about history and discovery. The traces of moss-covered temples and ancient foundations peeking out from under the green canopy create a scene that is both mysterious and captivating. To fully explore the city's ruins, visitors often travel by bicycle or tuk-tuk, weaving along narrow dirt paths. Palenque stands not only as evidence of the relentless changes brought by time, but also as a powerful reminder of nature's might and the persistent memory of a civilization that once thrived on the banks of the Ping River. The Kingdom of Palenque. Hidden deep within the jungles of southern Mexico, Palenque was once a brilliant Maya kingdom, a place where stories of power, legend, and artistry were carved into every stone of its magnificent temples. Beginning in the 5th century, Palenque rose as one of the most splendid capitals of the ancient Maya world, only to, after more than 3 centuries of glory, slip into oblivion, swallowed in silence by the surrounding green forest. The golden age of Palenque is forever linked to the name of its greatest ruler, Kinich Janapakal. Under his reign, Palenque was transformed into an extraordinary center of culture, politics, and religion throughout the region. The king was not only the embodiment of secular power, but also the sacred bridge between the gods and humanity, between history and myth. Majestic temples such as the Temple of the Inscriptions and the Temple of the Sun were constructed with exquisite sculpture and architectural mastery, leaving behind a legacy that would endure in the heart of the jungle. Inside the tomb of Pakal the Great, stone carvings, godly statues, and jade masks were buried alongside his body, a lasting testament to the unshakable belief in eternal life and the divine soul of kingship. During Pakal's rule, Palenque witnessed a period of remarkable advancement in science, astronomy, mathematics, and the arts. Surviving stone inscriptions reveal a society of great complexity, with an aristocracy, powerful priests, and skilled artisans all contributing to the city's vibrancy. Yet, even as Palenque's brilliance had not yet faded, the city began its quiet decline. After generations of Pakal's descendants ruled, internal strife, wars with neighboring city-states, and dwindling resources gradually drew the kingdom into a spiral of decay. By the 9th century, Palenque was suddenly abandoned. Roads that once bustled with life echoed only with the sound of insects. Grand monuments became lost beneath a blanket of jungle, and the traces of a magnificent empire slowly disappeared into the mysterious fog of time. Today, as the light of archaeology shines upon Palenque, every engraved stone wall and unearthed artifact tells future generations the story of a kingdom that once flourished in the midst of the jungle. The glory of Kinish, Janab Pakal, and the other great Maya kings is recorded not only in history, but also resounds as a reminder of the fragility of power and of the cycles of rise and fall, where even the greatest heights will, one day, retreat into legend. The mysterious deaths in Vang, Vieng, Laos. There are places in the world once described as heaven on earth, where all boundaries seem to melt away amid the wild beauty of mountains and winding rivers. Vang Vieng in Laos was once one of these destinations, drawing thousands of young travelers from all over the world. They came here to drift on inflatable tubes along the Nam Song River, to lose themselves in endless parties on sandy riverbanks, swept up by the music and the carefree atmosphere that made it feel like nothing could ever spoil the joy of youth. Yet, this very place, called the Paradise of Freedom, became known in international headlines as a paradise of death when a series of accidents unfolded. Behind the sweet beauty of Vang Vieng lay a painful truth. Safety systems were almost non-existent, adventure services lacked proper oversight, and those endless celebrations left heavy consequences for both locals and tourists alike. In just one peak travel season, the number of deaths caused by drowning, zipline accidents, overturned tubes, or the use of stimulants surged at an alarming rate. No one expected that seemingly harmless games on the Blue River could end in tragedy. In 2011 and 2012, the relentless string of deaths turned Vang Vieng into a focal point for global media coverage. Western countries issued warnings to their citizens traveling there. Many families were forced to say a final goodbye to loved ones, all because of a single moment of carelessness during a dream vacation. The stories of these young travelers, from zipline mishaps and river falls to mysterious deaths in riverside bars, left behind a lingering sense of dread. It was this wave of public outrage that forced the Lao authorities to step in and take serious action. Recreational activities were strictly regulated, and adventure tourism services were required to meet rigorous safety standards. The Nam Song River, once crowded with tubes and hard liquor, became noticeably quieter, making space for those seeking peace in nature. The traces of a once wild paradise are still there, but the price paid in blood and tears serves as a stark reminder to the international community that any paradise can become a hell if there is a lack of control and safety awareness. The tragedy at Vang Vieng stands as a warning for the modern tourism industry. Behind every enticing experience, there must always be a respect for human life and a sense of responsibility to the community, so that no more dreams of youth have to end in unfinished journeys and lasting pain. The shipwreck horde of the Black Sea. Since 2015, beneath the calm yet enigmatic waters of the Black Sea, archaeologists have gradually uncovered an unprecedented treasure trove of ancient maritime history. They have discovered more than 60 shipwrecks scattered across the seabed, each vessel carrying with it unfinished tales from the golden age of ancient Greece, the expansion of Rome, and the glory years of the Byzantine Empire. These are not merely rotting hulls lost in the heart of the ocean. They are silent witnesses to history, preserving the marks of commerce, war, migration, and the distant dreams of promised lands. Even more remarkably, at a depth of 4 meters, archaeologists also found a Bronze Age village that had been swallowed by the sea through thousands of years of geological upheaval. Wooden pillars, earthen walls, and ancient household artifacts still remain among the sand and mud, as if time itself had only just paused here. Each shard of pottery, every trace of ancient labor and daily life, serves as a reminder of a civilization that vanished without a trace. What has truly astonished the scientific community is the immense archaeological potential of this sea. The Black Sea, with its deep waters almost devoid of oxygen, has preserved the shipwrecks and artifacts in extraordinary condition, transforming this place into a vast natural underwater museum that modern humans have only just begun to explore. Beneath every wave, under each layer of sediment, there may still be hundreds more shipwrecks, together with countless mysteries about the trade, culture, and lives of generations long past. Every new discovery in the Black Sea not only sheds light on once-forgotten chapters of history, but also opens the door to great searches in the future. This place is gradually becoming the destination for archaeological dreams, for the ambition to decode the past, a colossal museum still hidden from view, waiting to be uncovered in the endless heart of the sea. The survival story of Yossi Ginsberg. In the heart of the vast Amazon rainforest, where ancient trees block out the sunlight and every step feels like wandering through an endless maze, Yossi Ginsberg, a young Israeli traveler, endured a survival journey he would never forget. That year, Yossi was only 22, eager to seek adventure after completing his military service. He dreamed of wild expeditions, longing to touch the most untouched places on Earth, but he could never have imagined that this trip would push him to the edge between life and death. In the city of La Paz, Bolivia, Yossi met a mysterious man named Carl, who spoke of a tribe deep in the Amazon, one that had never been contacted by the outside world. Captivated by the story and its secrets, Yossi and 3 companions decided to set off, plunging into the heart of the Amazon with hopes of discovering wonders no one else had seen. Yet, everything soon spiraled out of control when the group became separated by the treacherous terrain and the unforgiving forces of nature. Yossi found himself alone in a sea of jungle, while his companions vanished without a trace. For 20 long days, Yossi faced unimaginable fear and despair. Hunger and thirst drained his strength, his feet bled from constant wounds, and he survived by chewing leaves and finding drops of water seeping from rocks. Not only did he battle hunger and sickness, but he was also forced to fend off wild animals lurking around his makeshift shelter, each encounter with jaguars or venomous snakes sending his heart pounding. The pain grew so overwhelming that, at times, Yossi let hundreds of fire ants crawl all over his body, letting their stings distract him from the feeling of his body wasting away from exhaustion. When it seemed that all hope was lost, Yossi's will to survive refused to let him give up. He clung to memories of his family and friends, determined not to let go, even when only a faint glimmer of hope remained. There were moments when Yossi slipped into hallucinations, believing he was walking with someone's spirit deep in the jungle. After 20 days of surviving beyond what anyone could imagine, he was finally discovered by local rescuers, just one day before his body would have succumbed to the unforgiving wilderness. This adventure not only made Yossi a symbol of courage and the will to live, but also reminded us all that the Amazon rainforest, despite its mysterious beauty, holds dangers that can never be underestimated. His companions from that fateful expedition have still never been found, leaving behind a survival story that stunned the world and a haunting sense of the mysteries forever hidden in the vastness of the Amazon. The forgotten medieval city beneath the Cambodian jungle. Atop the sacred mountain of Phnom Kulen lies a secret that, for centuries, existed only in ancient legends. This is Mahendra Parvata, the lost city once regarded as the very first capital of the mighty Khmer Empire, the birthplace of the great civilization that would later give rise to Angkor Wat. For centuries, the name Mahendra Parvata survived only as a faint inscription on old stone steles and in fragments of folklore. No one knew exactly where the city lay. There were only tales of a splendid metropolis built on the holy mountain, gradually fading from memory as the Khmer kings moved their capital to the more fertile lowlands. Stories of a great city with roads, canals, and temples were all swallowed by a jungle that, for 1,000 years, saw no trace of humanity. Everything changed in 2012, when international archaeologists, in partnership with the Cambodian Heritage Preservation Institute, for the first time used airborne laser scanning technology to see through the dense forest canopy of Phnom Kulen. Advanced lasers swept across every hidden corner of the mountain, mapping the terrain with 3-dimensional accuracy down to each boulder and tree root. The results stunned the scientific community. Beneath the green leaves, the outline of a vast ancient city slowly emerged, with straight avenues, a network of canals, temple complexes, squares, and countless other remnants, a meticulously planned metropolis dating back over a millennium. The image of Mahendra Parvata appeared like a world frozen in time, a place where humanity and nature once blended together, only to be completely separated again as the jungle reclaimed everything. But even though the city has now been revealed on scientific maps, excavation remains nearly impossible. The treacherous terrain, harsh climate, and limited resources mean that this crucial Khmer heritage still lies dormant beneath layers of roots and stone. What has been uncovered through modern technology has opened a window to the past, offering hope for deeper understanding of the Khmer Empire's origins and golden age. Yet, to this day, Mahendraparvata remains a city of mysteries, a symbol of the fragility of heritage before the relentless forces of time and nature. Who can say how many stories still lie untold in that ancient forest, or how much knowledge waits in silence to be unearthed and returned to the light of human history? The fierce fire god of Japan. Within the complex and mysterious world of Japanese mythology, Kagutsuchi emerges as a fierce god of fire, embodying both creation and destruction. From the very moment of his birth, Kagutsuchi shook the world to its core. According to legend, the intense heat radiating from this newborn deity burned his mother, Izanami, the goddess of creation, to death, and that agony became the source of a great tragedy. Overcome by anger and grief, the father, Izanagi, drew his sword and beheaded his newborn son. Yet, even Kagutsuchi's death did not mark the end of the story. From the drops of bright red blood that spilled out, new gods sprang forth, each possessing unique powers and watching over the world in succession. Meanwhile, Kagutsuchi continued to be revered as the embodiment of fire's dual nature, at once creative and destructive. The shadow of fire lingers not only in ancient stories, but has woven itself into every corner of Japanese life for thousands of years. From long ago, this country grew accustomed to living with the threat of great fires. Homes, temples, and palaces were all built from fragile wood and paper. A single stray ember could reduce an entire city to ashes. To appease the anger of the fire god, the Japanese have long held special ceremonies known as Hoshi Zumino Matsuri twice each year. Although many ancient records of these rituals have been lost to time, it is believed that these ceremonies were not only prayers for peace, but also expressions of a deep-seated fear of fire's uncontrollable power. Japanese history has witnessed countless devastating infernos, with castles, temples, and entire districts consumed by flames time and again. But the haunting power of the fire god reaches beyond the wildfires that swept through old city streets. Sometimes, Kagutsuchi's rage erupts from deep beneath the earth itself. In 1792, Mount Unzen on Kyushu Island erupted violently, but the true disaster struck afterward, when an earthquake caused the mountain's peak to collapse. This triggered a massive landslide that swept the town of Shimabara into the sea. The immense debris plunged straight into Ariake Bay, generating a destructive tsunami that devastated coastal villages and killed over 15,000 people in an instant. It was a chain of tragedy, as if the wrath of Kagutsuchi had not yet subsided, leaving a mark of sorrow on a land long proud of its defiance of nature. From myth to reality, the image of Kagutsuchi still serves as a reminder to the Japanese people of the fragile boundary between life and destruction, between the warmth and hope brought by fire's light and the unparalleled devastation that comes when nature turns violent. Whether in festivals or during days of mourning, faith in deities like Kagutsuchi remains an inseparable part of Japanese culture, reflecting both the resilient spirit and the deep reverence for nature that defines the people of the land of the rising sun day. The truth about ancient tattoos. While tattoos may still spark controversy in society today, a look back into history reveals that the art of tattooing is inseparable from the human story. Tattoos have appeared everywhere in the world, from the glorious dynasties of ancient Egypt to the tribes of the Polynesian islands, from the land of the rising sun day in Japan to the distant highlands of Europe. The marks etched into skin by needle were once symbols of status, power, religious belief, or even a way to record the most significant milestones in a person's life. Archaeological evidence shows that humans have practiced the art of tattooing for thousands of years. One of the most remarkable discoveries is the mummy of Etsi, the Iceman found in the Alps of Italy. His body bears 60 simple tattoos, likely made with charcoal and crude needles, proving that tattoos served not just for decoration, but may have held medicinal or spiritual meaning. Across the world in Utah, scientists discovered ancient tattoo needles dating back 2,000 years. These were used by Native Americans, who employed cactus spines and leaves to create lasting designs on the skin. Even the word tattoo itself comes from the Polynesian language, where tattooing is a long-standing tradition, closely tied to honor and ancestry. Egyptian mummies have also been found with skin covered in tattoos, showing that, in those societies, body art was accepted and worn with pride. So why did tattoos come to be viewed with suspicion in the West? The reason dates back to the colonial era, when European explorers encountered cultures where tattoos symbolized identity. Westerners began to use tattoos as a way to distinguish themselves, viewing themselves as civilized, and labeling those with tattoos as savages or natives. This cultural divide, reinforced by social prejudice, led to tattooing being stigmatized for centuries in Europe. Looking back at history, tattoos are truly a wordless language, a rich and diverse cultural heritage humanity has inscribed upon its own skin. Today's changing attitudes show that modern society has begun to open up, accepting that every tattoo carries a story, a source of pride for each individual and for entire cultures. The 1991 Thailand plane disaster. On a sweltering morning at the end of May 1991, a fateful flight took off from Bangkok airport, carrying 23 passengers and crew, each with their own story and unfinished journey. But just 16 minutes after leaving the ground, disaster struck, turning the flight into one of the darkest memories in the history of Asian aviation. The Boeing 747 had just reached cruising altitude when it suddenly suffered a critical malfunction. The thrust reverser on the left engine activated by itself while the plane was still in midair. The pilots tried desperately to manage a situation they had never faced before, but the massive aircraft gradually slipped out of control, veering wildly before plunging straight into the dense jungle not far from Bangkok. The violent impact left no survivors among the 223 people on board, casting grief and shock over their families, friends, and the world. When rescue teams arrived at the scene, they were confronted with a haunting sight. The shattered remains of the plane tangled among roots and leaves, luggage and debris scattered everywhere. Every trace of what should have been a safe journey now reduced to memory. Relatives of the victims arrived one after another, their pain and loss accumulating amid the silent heart of the forest. Investigators quickly began their work, searching for every clue among the wreckage, and ultimately found the cause, a technical error in the engine's thrust reverser system. It was a seemingly minor flaw, yet it rendered the modern aircraft impossible to save. This accident was not only a tragedy for those on the flight, but also sounded an alarm for the global aviation industry. In the aftermath, Boeing was compelled to review and modify the entire safety system of the 747 series and many other models. Procedures for inspection, maintenance, and engine operation were tightened, and technology was continuously updated to prevent similar accidents. From that loss came a profound lesson in the relentless pursuit of technical perfection and the paramount importance of safety, an enduring legacy to protect human lives on every flight from then on. The disaster of 1991 is not just a reminder of the fragility of life in the skies, but also a spark that ignited the drive for safer air travel, so that every journey might become a safe return for millions of people around the world. The Garden of the Hesperides. Among the treasures of Greek mythology, there is one garden that has enchanted and inspired longing in countless generations. This is the Garden of the Hesperides, a place often likened to a Western paradise, hidden deep within the mysterious mists of twilight. In the imagination of the ancients, it was a realm beyond the boundaries of the known world, lying at the farthest west, where the sun dipped into the ocean and everything was bathed in the light of legend. At the heart of the garden stood the tree of the golden apples, a precious gift given by the goddess Gaia to Hera on her wedding day. Those golden apples symbolized not only immortality, but also the promise of happiness, power, and secrets beyond the reach of human understanding. Legend tells us that the Garden of the Hesperides was watched over by the Hesperides themselves, nymphs who were daughters of Atlas or of ancient sea gods, each with her own beauty and wisdom. They sang enchanting songs, captivating both gods and mortals daring enough to seek out this forbidden land. But the nymphs were not alone, for the many-headed dragon Ladon also kept watch, guarding the golden apples against daring thieves like the hero Heracles. It was a place of dreams and trials, the ultimate destination for adventurers, and a symbol of all that is unattainable in real life. The true location of the Garden of the Hesperides has long been a matter of scholarly debate. Some believe it lay at the far western edge of the world, beyond the Atlas Mountains in North Africa, or on the banks of the Triton River in Libya, or perhaps on an island far out at sea. Yet modern research points toward Morocco, where the ancient city of Lixus lies near the Lucas River, not far from the Atlantic Ocean. Here, archaeologists have discovered traces of a Phoenician city, its ruins quietly telling the story of what was once a thriving Mediterranean center. According to ancient sources such as Pliny the Elder, Lixus was believed to be the true origin of the legendary garden, the place where the Greeks imagined all manner of wonders that defied imagination. As you wander through the ancient ruins of Lixus today, you will encounter stone walls, a Roman theater, temples dedicated to Hercules, and even the remnants of an old aqueduct that once brought life to generations of inhabitants. Though there are no more golden apples or the songs of the Hesperides, the air still carries echoes of mythology, as if each passing breeze continues to whisper tales of paradise, of power, of immortality, and of secrets that may never be revealed. It is at this crossroads between legend and reality that the Garden of the Hesperides has become a symbol of humanity's longing for the eternal, for that miraculous place where history and myth blend together. No matter how far one may travel, no matter how many times the world may change, the stories of that immortal garden will always stir the human heart, reminding us that sometimes the greatest wonders exist right at the boundary between reality and dream. The missing Australian warplane in Papua New Guinea. Amid the dense and wild jungles of Papua New Guinea, a place rarely touched by the modern world, mysteries still linger, shrouded in green moss and the passage of time. One day, a local teenager, armed with a machete and a spirit of discovery, happened upon something that many had been searching for over decades: the wreckage of an Australian warplane from the Second World War. The boy's journey took him across deep streams, over rugged hills, and through thorny underbrush, all to reach a quiet hilltop hidden in the mist. There, the rusted metal fragments of the aircraft still bore the scars of a time marked by bombs and bullets. Wandering around the wreck, he discovered not only the propeller and fuselage, but also relics left behind by the crew: an old leather jacket, a watch face yellowed with age, and a few personal items that once belonged to the brave Australian pilots. The story of this plane is more than just a solitary discovery. It is a reminder of the more than 600 aircraft that once crashed across Papua New Guinea during the war years. Most of them remain where they fell, undisturbed in the depths of the jungle, like silent tombs from an era of smoke and fire. There are stories of crews who vanished forever, of silent, nameless sacrifices, young soldiers now remembered only through the cold fragments scattered across the vast wilderness. Amid the calls of birds and the morning mist, the image of the wreck lying hidden beneath the canopy stands as a poignant reminder of the fragility of human fate in the whirlwind of history. What remains is not just physical evidence of war, but a silent witness to stories of survival and disappearance, and to the unspoken grief of families half a world away. Today, every new discovery of a wrecked plane in Papua New Guinea adds a piece to the still incomplete mosaic of history, a place where those who once lived and fought are now remembered only by traces left behind in the lonely depths of the jungle. It is a memory that belongs not only to Australia or Papua New Guinea, but to all of humanity, reminding us that deep within the forest, time always keeps its secrets, waiting for someone to uncover them by chance. The fossilized serpent of Thailand. Amid the majestic limestone mountains of Vieng province in northeastern Thailand lies a place whose very name sparks endless curiosity and wonder: the Naka Cave. Here, time seems to stand still before a scene rarely found anywhere else in the world. A natural rock formation winding and coiling, its stone scales lined up in perfect order, the entire body resembling a giant serpent sleeping soundly beneath the earth. The snake's head, with its sharp features, raised scales, and even clearly defined eye sockets and nose ridge, creates the uncanny impression that you are looking upon a mythical creature turned to stone hundreds of thousands of years ago. Scientists explain that this formation is the result of natural weathering and the fracturing of rock under the harsh temperature changes between day and night. The difference in temperature causes the rock's surface to gradually crack, creating patterns that resemble a serpent's scales. Over thousands of years, wind, rain, sunlight, and time have all worked together to sculpt this extraordinary form. For geologists, it is a unique and rare phenomenon of nature, but one that is entirely reasonable in scientific terms. But for local people, the Naka Cave is far more than a natural wonder. Deep within the mountain lies a legend, handed down through generations, about the Naga serpent, a sacred and mythical creature of Southeast Asian cultures. According to these ancient tales, it was the great Naga itself that once slithered across this land, leaving behind the shape of the cave and even the mighty Mekong River as its lasting traces. People believe that the Naga is a guardian spirit, tied to fertility and prosperity in the region, a sacred symbol of strength and mystery. Today, visitors from far and wide come to the Naka Cave, not only to marvel at the surreal beauty of the fossilized serpent, but also to experience the sense of connection between legend and reality. Whether it is a masterpiece of nature or the imprint of myth, Naka remains an enduring enigma, a place where imagination and reverence for the natural world never run dry. The mysterious treasure of Silbury Hill, England. Nestled in the peaceful English countryside, Silbury Hill rises like a giant silhouette amid the lush green fields, leaving anyone who sees it for the first time both curious and awestruck. This is not a natural mountain, but the largest man-made mound in all of Europe, nearly 40 meters high and covering an area of up to 5 acres. Even more astonishing, archaeologists have determined that Silbury Hill was built over 4,500 years ago, meaning it predates even the famous pyramids of Giza in Egypt. And yet, despite centuries of research, the mystery of Silbury Hill remains as impenetrable as ever. The mound was constructed on an immense scale, requiring the coordinated efforts of thousands of people over several generations. But for what purpose? That is the very question that has long perplexed scientists. Some have theorized that Silbury Hill was a massive burial mound for a prehistoric king or chieftain, but to this day, no remains or traces of treasure have ever been found beneath the earth. Others have suggested that it served as a site for mysterious rituals, or perhaps even as a giant ant farm for the study of nature. But all of these ideas remain speculative. Local legend tells that Silbury Hill is the final resting place of King Sil, the first king of England, along with a vast treasure buried deep beneath the layers of soil and stone. Yet every excavation from the 18th century to the present has come up empty-handed. No mummies have been unearthed, nor has a single gold coin ever been revealed. All of this only adds to the enigmatic aura of Silbury Hill, making it a lasting challenge to the curiosity of generation after generation. Yomi, the underworld of Japan. Among the many somber legends of the land of the rising Sunday, Yomi emerges as a pitch-black veil, shrouding the boundary between life and death. For the ancient Japanese, Yomi was a cold and shadowy realm, the place every soul must pass into after leaving the world of the living. There was no judgment, no reward, and no punishment, only a gradual fading, where all feelings and memories dissolved into nothingness, leaving behind a silent world waiting for eternal oblivion. It was an afterlife without hope of salvation, where all people, whether kings or commoners, shared the same fate, dissolving into darkness. According to Shinto mythology, the entrance to Yomi is not just an abstract concept, but an actual location, a cave deep in the Izumo region, known as Yomoto Hirasaka. This entrance is sealed by a massive boulder, a perpetual warning to anyone who might dare to cross the threshold between life and death. It is believed that this is the gateway separating the two worlds, and that those souls who have eaten the food of Yomi can never return to the world of the living, doomed to wander forever in the cold, unending dark. Hidden beneath the mists of legend lies a tragic and haunting tale, the origin of the cycle of life and death for all things. The story of Izanagi and Izanami, the two gods who created the islands of Japan and the first kami. Their love began in perfect harmony, as they danced together around the heavenly pillar, creating the beautiful land. But tragedy struck when Izanami died, giving birth to the fire god. Unable to bear losing his beloved wife, Izanagi dared to enter Yomi, determined to bring Izanami back into the light. Yet, the strict rules of the underworld could not be broken. When Izanagi saw that Izanami's body had decayed, he fled in terror, while Izanami, filled with pain and humiliation, became the goddess of death, vowing to drag 1,000 people from the living world every day. In response, Izanagi declared he would give birth to 1,500 new souls each day, thus beginning the endless cycle of life and death. Today, Yomoto Hirasaka still exists, a mysterious destination for those who are fascinated by Japanese culture and mythology. Visitors can gaze upon the gateway to the underworld, where the massive stone lies motionless, a silent witness to the ancient vows of the gods. Though no one can descend into the earth, as Izanagi once did, standing before this boundary between two worlds, each person feels a certain chill, as if the darkness of Yomi still lingers, seeping into every blade of grass and every breeze, reminding us of the fragile line between life and death, and of the eternal cycle from which no one can escape. The Stone City at Sea in Micronesia. Amid the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, hidden along the shore of Pohnpei Island in Micronesia, there lies an ancient city that has astonished the entire world, Nan Madol, a stone marvel rising from the sea. Unlike any monument on land, Nan Madol stretches across a chain of small, man-made islets, resembling a mysterious labyrinth supported by ancient coral beds. But what has elevated this place to legendary status are its massive basalt walls and structures, with stones stacked upon each other, each block weighing tens, even up to 50 tons. It is a feat that defies the imagination of any ancient civilization. Modern archaeologists have spent decades attempting to unravel the mysteries of Nan Madol, but the more they study, the more perplexed they become. The city was built between the 8th and 13th centuries, yet there is no trace of pulleys, levers, or any metal tools. The colossal basalt blocks were perfectly squared, transported from afar and assembled like pieces of a giant puzzle, forming walls, temples, and an intricate network of canals stretching for 1.5 kilometers offshore. Every stone rests solidly upon the coral foundation, seemingly impervious to the endless winds and waves of the open ocean. The greatest question continues to haunt scientists. How did people of the past move and construct such monumental works? No explanation has ever proven entirely satisfactory. Local legend tells of two sorcerer brothers who arrived from a distant land possessing supernatural abilities that could make stones fly through the air, either by magic or with the help of a mythical dragon. Islanders believe that Nan Madol is the result of a fusion between human ingenuity and otherworldly power, a place where reality and myth intertwine in ways no one has yet managed to unravel. But Nan Madol is not merely an architectural wonder. It was once the center of power and sacred ritual for the ancient Sodalur dynasty. The city was home to the nobility and ruling class, the setting for grand ceremonies, and the repository of many secrets that time has never revealed. Today, beneath the blue skies and open sea, Nan Madol still stands, majestic and silent, a perpetual challenge to human understanding, a reminder that some mysteries remain forever beyond the reach of modern science. Early humans living on the Ethiopian highlands. Nearly 50,000 years ago, in the ice-covered mountains of Ethiopia, a chapter of human survival was quietly written, one that few could have imagined. In the rocky caves hidden deep within the harsh highlands, scientists have discovered the earliest traces of our ancestors, Homo sapiens, who once lived here when the climate was bitterly cold and the mountain winds swept across the cliffs day and night. Excavations reveal that in these caves, our ancestors not only struggled against the frigid climate, but also faced tremendous challenges in finding food. They discovered a way to survive by hunting a very particular animal, the African mole rat. The remaining bones, campfire traces, and stone tools show that prehistoric humans relied not just on brute strength, but also on observation, understanding, and adaptation to their environment. The African mole rat became a staple food source, as it was easy to catch, highly nutritious, and could be found year-round amid the cold, stony mountains. This discovery opens a new perspective on the adaptive abilities of our species. Why, among so many more hospitable places on Earth, did our ancestors choose these freezing mountains as their home? Perhaps it was the instinct to overcome hardship, the desire to conquer new limits that has driven humanity since the very beginning. Surviving and developing in such a challenging environment forged in Homo sapiens the resilience and creativity that we still take pride in today. Looking back at that journey, it is hard not to wonder, if faced with such harsh conditions, would modern humans still possess the same spirit of endurance and adaptability as our ancestors? The discovery in Ethiopia is not only an archaeological milestone, but also a reminder of the latent strength within each of us, the very force that has carried humanity so far on the long road of evolution. The city buried beneath the Sahara Desert. Few would imagine that amidst the vast sea of sand that is the Sahara, there once existed a thriving Roman city, one that stood as a symbol of wealth, order, and civilization amid the harshness of North Africa. This was Timgad, a city that once gleamed like a jewel in the desert, where Romans and indigenous Berber people lived together, creating a vibrant and diverse community of cultures and colors. Timgad was never just a military outpost or a remote colony. From the very beginning, when Emperor Trajan ordered its construction in the year 100 AD, Timgad was meticulously planned in the Roman style, with straight roads, grand squares, and modern public facilities. What made the Roman achievements so remarkable was not only their military might, but also their unique art of assimilation. They did not impose or force, but skillfully granted local people citizenship, allowing them to participate in the civilized legal system of the empire and to enjoy privileges that the Berbers had never known before. Those who became part of the Roman world could enjoy public baths, bustling markets, the amphitheater, and, most notably, a great library that housed precious knowledge from every corner of the ancient world. Even today, though only grey stone walls remain, one can still sense the traces of a scholarly culture that once flourished in this land. History, however, is never smooth. As religious tides and conflicts of interest began to rise, Timgad entered its period of decline. The arrival of Christianity brought turbulence to what had once been a stable region, followed soon by the invasions of barbarian armies. In a short span of time, this splendid city was devastated, abandoned, and gradually forgotten. By the 8th century, all signs of life had vanished, leaving behind a silent ruin buried beneath meters of shifting sand. 1,000 years passed, with wind and desert covering all remnants of Timgad's former glory, turning it into a legend few believed ever existed. It was not until 1763 that the Scottish explorer James Bruce happened upon the first traces of this lost city. Later, the French began large-scale excavations, peeling away layer after layer of sand to slowly reveal the layout of a complete Roman city, as if it had just been raised from the earth yesterday. One cannot help but wonder, how many more forgotten cities lie hidden beneath the giant dunes of the Sahara, waiting to be rediscovered? Perhaps beneath every stretch of golden sand is a fragment of memory from a vanished civilization, patiently awaiting the day when it will be found and its story told once more. The Roswell Stone. Amid the many unanswered mysteries surrounding extraterrestrial life, the name Roswell has always been intertwined with a host of theories and humanity's greatest questions. The Roswell incident of 1947 in New Mexico, long rumored to be the site of a crashed, unidentified flying object, became a symbol for UFO investigations and the search for alien civilizations. But the mysteries did not end there. For nearly half a century later, this land would once again stir the scientific world when a strange artifact unexpectedly surfaced. In 2004, a hunter named Robert Ridge was crossing land near the site of the original Roswell incident when he discovered a small object protruding from the earth. It was a stone, but not an ordinary one. On its surface were a series of rounded, intricate, and swirling patterns, at once unfamiliar and yet reminiscent of symbols from a civilization beyond human understanding. As Robert examined the stone closely, he was stunned to find that these designs matched, in a bizarre and exact way, the shape of a mysterious crop circle that had appeared in England in 1996, a circle that had once caused an uproar in the UFO research community for its perfection and enigmatic symbolism. Experts who later examined the Roswell stone uncovered even more incredible details. The stone appeared to have been engraved using advanced technology, with lines and grooves that bore the hallmarks of laser work. There were no traces of any traditional hand tools. Most intriguingly, the stone possessed an unusual magnetic force, capable of deflecting a compass needle and leading some to speculate about energies not of this earth. What is most remarkable is that, to this day, the true origin of the stone remains a complete mystery. No one knows who created it, nor can anyone explain why the designs on the stone should so perfectly match a crop circle that appeared in another country nearly a decade earlier. This enigma has given rise to a host of theories. Could this be a cosmic map left by extraterrestrials for humanity, or perhaps a key to open portals to parallel universes? Some even believe the stone is a map for communication between different civilizations across the galaxy. The riddle of the Roswell stone remains beyond the reach of modern science. No researcher has yet been able to decode the message inscribed on its surface. But in this age of rapidly advancing artificial intelligence, many hope that one day AI might hold the key to unlocking the secrets buried for so many years. Until that time comes, the Roswell stone remains a haunting reminder of humanity's unanswered questions and our unyielding desire to explore the final frontiers of existence. The USS Indianapolis. Nearly 8 decades after one of the most tragic disasters in the history of the United States Navy, the mystery of the warship USS Indianapolis was finally unraveled on the ocean floor, thanks to the tireless efforts of billionaire Paul Allen, the co-founder of Microsoft. In 2017, armed with cutting-edge technology and a deep passion for uncovering history, he and his team discovered the wreckage lying silently at a depth of more than 5,500 meters beneath the Philippine Sea, bringing to a close a search that had spanned nearly 72 years. The USS Indianapolis was once a symbol of American strength and courage, but a tragic fate struck in the early hours of the 30th of July, 1945, when the ship was hit by 2 torpedoes fired from a Japanese submarine in just a matter of minutes. In that brief instant, the pride of the US Navy sank to the ocean floor, taking with it more than 300 sailors. That was only the beginning of an ordeal that would haunt survivors for days to come. Nearly 900 men who survived the sinking were left to struggle in the open sea, with no sign of rescue, utterly isolated amid the vast expanse of water. These young servicemen, weakened by hunger, thirst, and the blazing sun, soon faced an even greater horror as sharks began circling, picking off the weakest one by one, hour after hour, day after day. For 4 days and 4 nights, life for these men was a flickering flame in the midst of a relentless nightmare. By the time a patrol plane finally spotted the survivors and launched a rescue operation, only 316 men remained alive, most of the others having perished from shark attacks or sheer exhaustion. The discovery of the USS Indianapolis was not just the end of a decades-long quest. It was a haunting reminder of the brutality of war and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. For the families of the crew and for the history of America itself, the ship's resting place deep beneath the waves brought a painful chapter to a close. At the same time, it opened an opportunity to reflect on and honor those who sacrificed in silence, defending freedom for generations yet to come. Buried in a tree trunk. Beneath the quiet layers of earth below modern-day Zurich, archaeologists uncovered a strange and mesmerizing secret, the final resting place of a Celtic noblewoman who had lain undisturbed for more than 2 millennia inside a most unique grave. A hollowed-out tree trunk. Rather than cold stone slabs or fortified burial chambers, it was this ancient piece of timber that cradled her remains, making her one with nature until, over 2,200 years later, her mystery was brought to light in the modern age. This woman was no stranger to her community. Careful study has shown she once held a position of high status, perhaps a chieftainess or a priestess, living a life surrounded by luxury and influence. The artifacts left in her grave are the clearest proof of all. A thick sheepskin coat, a skirt woven from fine wool, each thread shining beneath centuries of dust, revealed the skillful hands of master craftsmen. Her necklace, fashioned from amber and glass, and her exquisitely crafted bronze jewelry glinted in the dim light, each piece bearing the unmistakable mark of wealth and authority that once echoed throughout the Celtic world. Every item placed beside her was not just a personal belonging, but a symbol of the respect and admiration her community held for such a remarkable woman. Her bones showed no sign of hard labor. Her body had retained its strength even into her 40s. She had led a life of comfort, surrounded by ceremony, possessions, and most certainly the affection of those around her. Yet, what makes this story even more captivating is the discovery of another grave, just 80 meters away, the resting place of a Celtic man. He was not merely a warrior, he was interred with his sword, shield, and long spear, all radiating the aura of a leader or a brave fighter. In the same era, in the same region, one must wonder, was there a deep connection between these two individuals? Were they soulmates, allies, or perhaps lovers swept up in the turbulent currents of history? This discovery has not only captivated archaeologists, but also opened a new chapter in our understanding of the widespread influence of the Celts across continental Europe. People often associate the Celts with the misty lands of Britain or the legends of Wales and Scotland, yet their footsteps once spanned all of Europe, from the heart of Switzerland to distant Turkey. Unique burial rituals, like interment within a tree trunk, reflect the Celts' seamless blend of spirituality and nature, a worldview in which death was not an end, but a return, the beginning of an endless cycle of renewal. Today, as humanity grapples with how to depart gently, in harmony with nature, the concept of green burials feels closer than ever before. From the egg-shaped biocapsule of the Capsula Mundi project to biodegradable wooden coffins, all are inspired by these ancient burial practices, returning to the earth to nourish new life. Looking back at the tree trunk tomb of the Celtic woman, we can sense an invisible thread connecting past and present, a lesson in humility before nature, and a quiet gratitude for the endless circle of life shaped by creation itself. Han urn burials. In the Hebei region of China, archaeologists made a stunning discovery when they unearthed as many as 113 ancient graves scattered across a vast area. What set this site apart was that most of these graves contained burial urns for children, large earthenware jars, each one cradling the remains of a small, lost life from thousands of years ago. Even more remarkably, among these urns were 6 intended for adults, revealing that this was a burial ground for ordinary people, not for nobles or government officials. The presence of adult burial urns came as a great surprise to experts, since it had long been believed that this custom was reserved only for children. The burial practice known as urn burial, or sometimes called ear burial, was a unique tradition during the Western Han Dynasty. When a person died, their body would be carefully wrapped and placed inside 2 or 3 large clay jars, joined together to form a single vessel. A small hole was always drilled into the side of the urn, rooted in the belief that this opening would serve as a doorway for the soul, allowing the deceased to move freely between worlds, unbound by the realm of the dead. These jars were arranged in rows beneath the earth, creating a scene both peculiar and steeped in ancient spirituality. The discoveries in Hebei have forced researchers to reconsider previous understandings of Western Han burial customs. While it was once thought that urn burial was a ritual strictly for young children, new evidence shows it was also practiced for adults, reflecting a society in which every soul, young or old, was committed to the earth with unique hopes and beliefs. These findings not only shed light on the spiritual lives of people long ago, but also open a new chapter in the story of ancient Chinese funerary customs, where humble clay urns became bridges between the living and the unseen. The kingdom of King Nimrod, legend and darkness after the Great Flood. In the aftermath of the Great Flood, when the land was still thick with mud, and the horrifying memories of a lost world weighed heavily on humanity's mind, a mysterious figure emerged. That man was Nimrod, the one the Bible calls the first mighty man on earth. But behind the word mighty lay a depth of power and ambition that dared to challenge even God himself. Nimrod was no ordinary leader in those post-Diluvian days. With iron will, he gathered the scattered survivors, turning himself into a living symbol of strength and authority. A king whose thirst for power reached all the way to the heavens. Under Nimrod's guidance, those who had lived through catastrophe founded the city of Babel, where the clang of hammers and the chisel on stone echoed day and night to raise a structure unlike anything the world had ever seen, the Tower of Babel. This tower was more than a feat of architecture. It was a monument to human pride, even an act of rebellion against the divine will. They were determined to reach the sky itself, defying the order that God had set for mankind. And it was here, in Babel, that human language was forever divided, plunging humanity into chaos, a confusion we still talk about to this day. But Nimrod's ambitions did not end there. He pressed on, expanding his rule and founding great cities scattered across Mesopotamia, such as Nineveh and many others. Nimrod's journey spanned fertile lands, leaving an indelible mark on ancient history. Some stories tell that he was not just a builder, but a legendary hunter, a slayer of dragons, a warrior so formidable that even the oldest creatures trembled at his name. Many scholars believe that the figure of Nimrod was at least partly inspired by Sargon the Great, the founder of the Akkadian Empire in what is now Iraq. Both are depicted as great conquerors, men who reshaped the course of history with their iron hands and unmatched intellect. But as history so often proves, every golden age must come to an end. After Nimrod's death, his kingdom quickly fell into chaos. New tribes rose up, waging battles for power and gradually erasing the last traces of the legendary king's reign. Other civilizations, the Amorites, then the Babylonians, would inherit, expand, and finally bury every remnant of Nimrod beneath the dust of time. Today, the ruins of Nineveh have been excavated, their ancient remnants lying quietly among the desolate fields of Iraq, silent witnesses to an age of upheaval. But the city of Babel, the heart of the dream to touch the sky, the birthplace of every legend about human pride, remains an unsolved mystery. Was this city nothing more than a myth, or does it still lie buried deep beneath the earth, waiting for the day it will be uncovered to tell the story of a king who once dared to reach for the power of the gods? Cat skeleton and doll. Amid the chilly highlands of Scotland, an abandoned house tucked away behind a stand of trees has become a destination for those drawn to mysterious explorations. Outside, a faded strip of police tape, worn thin by time, greets every visitor with a chill, forcing them to wonder what events once unfolded here. Stepping inside is like entering a space frozen in the past. Every object remains exactly as it was in the 1950s. Antique furniture, yellowed old newspapers, a silent piano in the corner, each detail thickens the air with secrets that have never been answered. But what haunts the mind most are two discoveries, left alone in the darkness. First, the small, curled skeleton of a cat beneath the floorboards, as if a lonely soul had been left behind in the river of time. Next to it lies an old doll, its face faded, its eyes empty and staring blankly out the window, enough to send a shiver down anyone's spine. The entire house radiates the sense of a sudden departure. A black dress still hanging on its hook, dishes left on the dining table as though the owner once stepped out on an ordinary day and simply never returned. The lingering trace of police tape raises questions about an unresolved case, or perhaps a tragedy long buried by the passage of years. No one knows who the owner was, what happened, or why everything came to a standstill in that particular moment. Each time someone sets foot in this cold, abandoned house, an invisible presence seems to hang in the air, leaving every explorer with a host of unanswered questions, as if the shadows of the past still guard every corner of this forgotten home in the heart of Scotland. The oldest ritual in the world. Amid the vast expanse of the Kalahari Desert, among the ancient rocky hills that the Sand People call the Mountains of the Gods, archaeologists have uncovered some of the most astounding evidence of prehistoric spiritual life. Deep within a hidden cave in these stone mountains, they discovered traces of a mysterious ritual dating back as far as 70,000 years, now considered the oldest religious ceremony ever known to humanity. Inside the cave, a massive stone slab had been intricately carved into the shape of a python's head. Dim light filtering through the cracks made the stone scales shimmer in a strange, shifting glow, creating the illusion that the serpent's head was moving in the darkness. For modern scientists, this image is not simply an ancient artwork, but a powerful spiritual symbol for the early people who once lived here. Even today, the San people tell legends of the python, believing it to be a creature capable of connecting the human world with the spirit realm. But the discoveries did not end there. When archaeologists excavated the area in front of the stone serpent's head, they unearthed a trove of artifacts buried deep in ancient soil. Stone spear points stained red with charcoal, scorched spearheads, and hunting tools, all bearing clear signs of ritual use. Analysis showed that these spear tips had been deliberately fired in flame, a purposeful act symbolizing purification and a connection to supernatural powers. Red charcoal, the color of fire and blood, has always been associated with sacrificial and prayer rituals in cultures around the world. What makes this find even more remarkable is that it has completely changed previous assumptions about the origins of human spirituality. Before this discovery, scientists believed that religious rituals emerged around 40,000 years ago, when modern humans had advanced both intellectually and socially. Yet, this cave in Botswana proves that our ancestors, the very first Homo sapiens, were already conducting sacred ceremonies far earlier, preceding any other evidence ever found on Earth. The painstaking creation of the stone serpent's head, combined with the abundance of ritual artifacts, shows that this was not just a shelter, but a spiritual center, a place where the community gathered for vital ceremonies, seeking protection, fortune, or to ward off evil spirits. It's easy to imagine the moment when red-stained spears were driven into the ground before the giant python's head, the flickering fire casting shadows of ancient people as the first seeds of religion, art, and the spiritual world of humankind were sown. This discovery not only forces us to rethink the intellectual depths of our ancestors, but it also raises profound questions. Was the yearning for the sacred always burning within us, even at the dawn of humanity? And perhaps, was it precisely rituals like those in the Botswana cave that paved the way for the birth of faith, art, and the civilizations that followed? Unexploded bombs. On the Solomon Islands, an unexpected discovery left the entire community in shock. More than 100 intact bombs from World War II were found just beneath the soil in a local man's yard as he was digging a hole to install a new septic system. It was not only a heart-stopping moment, but also a vivid reminder of the dangerous legacy that war leaves behind, even after decades have passed. These bombs, buried for many years, still retain the potential to explode with a single hard impact. The homeowner had no idea that beneath the very ground where his children played and his family often gathered, such a terrifying hazard was lurking. One small misstep during digging or construction could have triggered a tragedy, threatening not only his own family, but also the surrounding neighborhood. This story is far from unique. In fact, it's just one part of a much larger problem spread across many islands in the Pacific. During the years of World War II, thousands of bombs were dropped over this region, but not every bomb detonated as intended. Many still lie dormant underground, beneath lush grass, or deep within dense forests, waiting for the day when someone might stumble upon them by chance. Every year, as islanders begin building new homes, digging ponds, or simply clearing land for farming, the risk of encountering these unexploded bombs returns, casting a persistent shadow of anxiety over daily life. Authorities have made repeated efforts to locate and remove these dangerous remnants, but the sheer scale of the problem and the passage of so much time have made bomb disposal an ongoing challenge for both the local community and the government. The story of the family on the Solomon Islands is just one of countless examples of the lasting consequences war inflicts, not just recorded in history books, but woven into the fabric of everyday life. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes what we assume belongs to the past can re-emerge and affect our present in ways no one could have foreseen. Decapitated mummy. In an ancient tomb dating back to Egypt's Middle Kingdom, archaeologists uncovered a mummy that had survived for 4 millennia, yet was found in a most unusual state. Its head and body were separated, lying alone in a burial chamber shrouded in centuries of dust. When the coffin was opened, instead of the intact mummy they expected, they saw only a head placed atop the sarcophagus, while the body was curled up in a corner of the tomb, surrounded by ashes and signs of charring, evidence that grave robbers had once visited and set fires in an attempt to erase their tracks. Identifying the mummy proved to be no simple task, not only because the lower facial bones were missing, but also because sections of the jaw and cheek had been removed during the mummification process. Researchers believe this ritual may have been intended to help the deceased eat more easily in the afterlife. To unravel the mystery, they attempted to analyze DNA from the mummy's teeth, a daunting task, since Egypt's harsh climate had badly degraded the genetic material over thousands of years. With the help of modern forensic specialists, DNA results confirmed that the remains belonged to a man, most likely a governor who once ruled this region. Even so, the question of his true identity remains unresolved, as two governors with the same name once ruled this area, and the inscribed stone stela found nearby cannot provide absolute proof. The story is not just about a headless mummy. The deliberate separation and repositioning of the head and body, almost as if to send a message to future generations, has made this one of Egypt's enduring archaeological mysteries. In the somber air of the tomb, this decapitated mummy continues to tell a story, half legend, half reality, about power, vengeance, and the unsolved secrets of the Nile civilization. The Cucuteni Tripoli culture and the mystery of the village burning ritual. In Eastern Europe, across a land stretching from Ukraine to Romania, there once flourished a brilliant culture that still baffles archaeologists with its enduring mysteries. This was the world of the Cucuteni Tripoli people, a society that thrived from 5500 to 2750 BC, building large settlements and practicing customs far ahead of many contemporary civilizations. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about the Cucuteni Tripoli people is not their exquisite pottery or their pioneering copper tools, but rather a strange ritual passed down through generations, the regular, intentional burning of their villages. Every few decades, the entire community would come together to set fire to all their houses, buildings, and sometimes even burn down villages of hundreds of homes at once. These blazes were not accidental disasters, but carefully orchestrated events, with hundreds of logs gathered to generate the intense heat needed to set entire settlements aflame. At first, it was thought that these burned layers were simply the result of forest fires, lightning strikes, or warfare. But as research continued, archaeologists found increasing evidence of human intent in every incident. The clay walls, burned hard into a kind of ceramic brick, bore the unmistakable marks of ritual, not natural destruction. With each new generation, the old village would be reduced to ashes, clearing the way for new homes to rise atop the still smoldering earth. This cycle created unique archaeological strata known as the burned house horizon. Why did they choose fire, a symbol of destruction, yet also a force of rebirth, to mark the turning point for their community? Some researchers believe this was a religious rite, a ritual of death and renewal, reminding the people of the endless cycle of life. Others suggest it was a practical method to harden the walls of their clay homes, or simply a way to cleanse the environment, driving away pests and disease. Strangely, the practice of self-burning villages was not unique to the Cucuteni Tripoli. Similar phenomena have been found in neighboring cultures, from the plains of Hungary to the valleys of Serbia and Bulgaria. For the prehistoric peoples of Eastern Europe, fire was far more than a tool for survival. It was a catalyst for communal rituals, forging unity and strengthening their faith in the power of renewal. Today, the layers of ash and deep red earth left behind thousands of years ago are still visible beneath the ground, bearing witness to a custom that was both mysterious and deeply symbolic. In this culture, fire did not merely consume material things, it was transformed into the immortal spirit of a civilization that once burned brightly at the dawn of human history. The mysterious murder case of the Takabuti mummy. Nearly 3 millennia have passed since Takabuti, a young woman from ancient Egypt, breathed her last in circumstances so tragic that only now, in the modern age, has the truth begun to surface. The story of Takabuti's mummy is more than just a search for the identity of a historical figure. It is an unsolved crime, one that continues to challenge modern scientists with countless unanswered questions. Takabuti lived during a time when Egypt was ruled by foreign dynasties, under the 25th dynasty, when Thebes was still the dazzling capital of Nile civilization. She was no ordinary citizen but the daughter of a priest, possibly the wife or lover of a powerful nobleman. This status was inscribed onto her ornately decorated wooden coffin, which, more than 2,000 years later, was pried open before the astonished eyes of Belfast residents when the Takabuti mummy arrived in Northern Ireland with a wealthy merchant. At that time, Takabuti became a sensation. She was the first Egyptian mummy ever seen in the British Isles, drawing such curiosity that her unwrapping was staged as a lavish public event. Linguists deciphered the hieroglyphics, revealing part of the mystery of her life and lineage. Yet it was not until the age of CT scans, DNA analysis, and modern forensic techniques that the deepest secrets slowly came to light. Layers of brittle linen were carefully removed, revealing a petite body with striking reddish-brown hair, a rare beauty in a culture that revered shaven heads. In fact, she wore her hair long, defying the strict codes of the Egyptian elite. As scientists conducted further examinations, they discovered that Takabuti had not died of old age or illness, but from a single, sudden, and powerful blow from behind. The wound, a deep axe cut to the left shoulder, had killed her instantly. Even more intriguing, genetic analysis deepened the mystery. Takabuti's DNA revealed traits vastly different from most Egyptians of her era. Her genome shared similarities with modern Europeans and displayed several rare biological features, such as having 33 teeth and an extra vertebra, anomalies never before seen in any other mummy. Was she a foreigner, or the descendant of a family that had journeyed to Egypt from distant lands, carrying secrets unknown to her time? The sudden and violent death of Takabuti raises countless questions. She was killed with a weapon commonly used by soldiers. But who was the perpetrator? Was she a casualty of political intrigue, or was she targeted for her foreign appearance and origins? Could she have been drawn into a tragic love affair, or the dark schemes of the noble class? All that remains is speculation, as the name of her killer has long since been buried by the passage of time. Today, standing before the Takabuti mummy in the Northern Ireland Museum, one feels not only the haunting gaze behind the linen wrappings, but also a deep sadness for the fragility of the human condition amidst the tides of history. Takabuti left this world in silence, but her story lives on, reminding future generations of lives lost in the shadows of time and the secrets that have yet to be revealed. The oldest dolls and toys in the world, Siberia's ancient childhood. Amid the frozen expanse of southern Siberia, where time seems to stand still beneath the snow, archaeologists have touched fragments of humanity's distant childhood, some of the oldest toys ever discovered, kept safe for thousands of years in the humble grave of a Bronze Age child from the Okunev tribe. This discovery not only revives the image of a vanished world, but also tells us a warm story of family bonds, devotion, and the simple joys of childhood in prehistoric times. Inside the modest tomb, scientists found a doll's head, exquisitely carved from soapstone, its features rendered with surprising detail, as if some ancient artisan had poured all their care into the gentle gaze and subtle smile. Beside it lay a tiny animal figurine, fashioned from animal horn, perhaps once a treasured companion for the child during playtime on the vast Siberian steppe. Unlike so many ancient artifacts, which often carry religious or ceremonial meanings, these items bore no sacred symbols. They were simply beloved, familiar possessions. They stand as living proof of the joy of childhood, reaching back across millennia. Archaeologists believe that the Okunev people cherished their children, giving them these small gifts as tokens of love that would be carried through generations. Though the doll's body and the animal toy have long since decayed in the face of harsh, natural conditions, what remains is enough to recall memories of pure, unspoiled childhood, a time when a child could clutch a favorite toy as if holding onto their own private world. This discovery deepens our understanding of the inner life of ancient peoples, but also reminds us that, in every age, the longing to play and the magic of owning a cherished treasure is among the most sacred parts of childhood. In the cold darkness of the ancient grave, the doll's head and animal figurines still whisper a story of simple happiness, transcending all boundaries of time and place. Aurora Cemetery, the mysterious grave of an extraterrestrial visitor in the heart of Texas. In a remote corner of the small town of Aurora, hidden among time-worn, weather-beaten headstones, lies a story that has intrigued the world for more than a century. Here, locals still whisper about a night in April 1897, when the Texas sky suddenly lit up as an unknown object hurtled down from space, crashing into an old windmill on a quiet farm. According to legend, when terrified townspeople rushed to the scene, they found not only strange debris unlike anything ever seen on Earth, but also the body of a small creature unlike any human being. No one knew exactly what to call it. They simply acknowledged it as the pilot from the stars. In a gesture of humanity, the people of Aurora did something unprecedented in human history. They held a funeral for this being and buried it in the town cemetery, right alongside the land's real human residents. Over the decades, this mysterious grave has become a magnet for UFO researchers, curiosity seekers, and tourists from all over the world. Generations have tried to uncover clues about the extraterrestrial being, hoping to unravel one of humanity's greatest mysteries. A tiny headstone, once discovered in the cemetery and etched with the image of a flying saucer, only added to the legend's eerie allure. However, over time, that small headstone mysteriously vanished without a trace, leaving behind only a cold, empty patch of ground and countless unanswered questions. Research teams, media outlets, and scientists have repeatedly requested permission to exhume the mysterious grave, but each time, the cemetery's caretakers have firmly denied them, citing the inability to identify the deceased's next of kin. These efforts to either prove or disprove the story have only kept the Aurora legend alive in the hearts of locals and UFO enthusiasts alike. Because even though no one has ever produced definitive proof, the pull of the story about the alien grave has never faded with time. Today, Aurora Cemetery rests quietly amid the windswept prairie, like a gateway between the human world and the unimaginable mysteries that lie beyond. Visitors who wander among the old, weathered stones often report feeling a subtle chill, a sense of secrets still lurking beneath the earth. And who knows, perhaps someday, beneath that silent layer of soil, there lies a story that could forever change how humanity sees the vast universe above. The wreckage of the B-17, flying fortress in the swamps of Papua New Guinea. Amid the mysterious swamps of Papua New Guinea, a dramatic and deeply moving story was revealed after more than half a century of being lost to time. This is the fate of the Swamp Ghost, the legendary B-17E flying fortress that once took part in World War II and was then left abandoned in the wild for decades. In 1942, under a hail of gunfire and the constant threat from the skies, the B-17E, carrying a brave crew, was forced to make an emergency landing in the endless wetlands after a failed bombing raid. Surrounded by water, mud, and complete isolation, the crew members fought tirelessly to find their way to safety over several grueling days, until eventually their story faded into the fog of wartime memory. Meanwhile, the great aircraft, with its heavy metal frame, was left behind, becoming a silent ghost amid the wild landscape. As years passed, the Swamp Ghost sank deeper into the mist and thick vegetation, until it was accidentally rediscovered in the 1970s by pilots flying over the area. The sudden appearance of this ancient wreck in the swamps of Papua New Guinea immediately captivated historians, veterans, and the public around the world. The image of the rusted, moss-covered flying fortress resting in the mud became a powerful symbol, reminding people of the brutal realities of war and the unwavering courage of those who faced impossible odds. However, bringing the Swamp Ghost back to America was a long and arduous journey. The legal procedures, the logistics of moving it, and the restoration efforts stretched over many years, demanding relentless perseverance and burning passion from generations of historians, collectors, and war veterans. When the B-17E finally returned to California, it was not just a technical achievement, it was a symbolic homecoming, a piece of history returning to its roots, carrying with it the echoes of bravery, brotherhood, and an indomitable will to survive. Today, the Swamp Ghost is more than just a museum artifact. It stands as a living witness to the past, a bridge connecting the distant generations to the present day. Whenever people gaze upon the body of this flying fortress, they see more than just an instrument of war. They see the extraordinary power of human determination, the spirit of impossible homecomings that somehow, against all odds, still find their way. Stingless bees. One day in California, a little girl only 4 years old made a discovery that left the scientific community stunned. While eagerly exploring a corner of her family garden, she stumbled upon two unusual bee nests that didn't resemble any bees people were used to seeing. What stood out most was that these bees had no stingers, something almost unheard of among any bee species in the United States. This unexpected find completely changed scientists' understanding of a bee species believed to have been extinct in America for more than 70 years. Experts quickly identified these as stingless bees, originally imported from Brazil in the 1950s to help pollinate fruit orchards and vegetable crops. Back then, the American agricultural industry hoped that this bee species would boost yields and improve crop quality. However, after only a short time, they completely disappeared from all scientific records. Since then, researchers had assumed these tiny bee colonies failed to adapt and had gone entirely extinct on American soil. Yet, through a remarkable twist of fate, these stingless bees had quietly survived all these years. They hid in gardens and small forests, staying far from human eyes, and for decades, no one even noticed their presence. Thanks to the curiosity of a young child, this secret finally came to light, opening a new chapter in the study of how foreign insect species can persist so tenaciously in the US. Researchers examined the nests and confirmed that these bees were descendants of the original colonies imported by the US Department of Agriculture decades earlier. Unlike typical bees, these bees lack stingers. When threatened, they can only bite to defend themselves. The bite may hurt, but poses no real danger to humans. The unexpected return of a species thought to be extinct has not only forced scientists to rethink the extraordinary adaptability of nature, but also sparked new hope for future conservation efforts involving rare insect species. Sometimes, it only takes a single innocent moment from a child to astonish the entire world and change the way we see the natural wonders around us. The discovery of torture tools inside a home in America. Sometimes, the most chilling secrets are hidden right inside what seems to be the safe, familiar walls of our own homes. That was exactly the shock and terror one woman in America experienced when she accidentally uncovered a dark mystery concealed behind the wooden paneling near the oven in her old kitchen. Curious about a cracked piece of wood, she decided to pull it away, only to reveal a deep cavity within the wall. In that silent darkness, a cold metal suitcase emerged, opening the door to a story that would make anyone shudder. Inside the suitcase was a collection of strange, unsettling objects. A pink metal rod, sharp knives, skewers, and a peculiar two-pronged fork. At first glance, an outsider might assume they were simply abandoned cooking utensils, but the unease was immediate. Everything was meticulously arranged, resembling a standard torture kit, more suited to a crime thriller than a family kitchen. Haunting questions began to fill her mind. Could a serial killer have once lived here? Or was there some darker secret still silently lurking behind the old walls of this house? But the discoveries didn't end there. Just days later, she found another hidden compartment near the sink. This time, it contained a stash of mysterious adult toys, along with numerous pages covered in cryptic usernames and scribbled notes. It felt as if every hidden corner of the home held some strange fragment of a past life. The peak of her dread came when she stumbled upon yet another bundle of papers carefully stashed behind the toilet. These documents contained information so specific and coded that only the original owner could truly understand their meaning. All these scattered clues, from the metal suitcase to the mysterious pages, transformed the seemingly ordinary house into the potential scene of an unresolved crime. The new resident couldn't help but wonder whether the former owner might have been a serial killer or a deranged criminal who once lived quietly in this peaceful neighborhood. Though it all remains only a theory for now, each new discovery has added to the stifling atmosphere of suspicion and haunting curiosity. This story is not just about the fear of some invisible perpetrator. It also serves as a chilling reminder that sometimes even the most familiar homes can conceal secrets so shocking they leave us speechless. And perhaps hidden within the old walls around us, there are still pieces of the past waiting to be uncovered, bringing with them questions that may never truly find an answer. Archytas' steam-powered flying pigeon. When people think of the great thinkers of ancient Greece, they usually imagine philosophers and mathematicians pondering abstract theories, complex theorems, or profound philosophies. But few know that among these legendary minds was a man who astonished the world by bringing humanity's dream of conquering the skies to life through sheer intellect. That man was Archytas, renowned not only for his knowledge of mathematics and philosophy, but also celebrated as the creator of one of the earliest machines that embodied the spirit of modern engineering, a steam-powered pigeon capable of flight. Around the 4th century BCE, in the city of Tarentum in southern Italy, Archytas built a wooden model of a pigeon. Rather than being a mere toy or a static sculpture, this pigeon had the remarkable ability to actually fly, thanks to aerodynamic principles that still leave modern researchers in awe. Archytas cleverly designed the pigeon with a hollow body, forming an internal chamber for steam. When heated steam was released, the resulting thrust was powerful enough to propel the pigeon into the air, imitating the natural flight of real birds. This achievement marked not only a turning point in engineering history, but also one of the first recorded instances of humans applying natural science to create artificial motion. Many consider this invention to be humanity's first robot, introducing the idea of automata, machines that move autonomously using principles of physics. Behind this creation lay Archytas' deep passion for mathematics, for nature, and his unyielding desire to unravel the mysteries of the world around him. Archytas believed that every phenomenon could be explained through numbers and laws, and this mindset positioned him as a pioneer in the study of aerodynamics, a field that wouldn't fully develop for another 1,000 years. The influence of Archytas did not stop with his steam-powered pigeon. He laid the groundwork for applied science, bridging the logical rigor of mathematics with practical life. His discoveries and inventions inspired generations of engineers and scientists who followed, pushing humanity to dream bigger and conquer new frontiers. Looking back at history, we can see that from the very beginning, the burning desire to transcend the limits of nature has always lived within us, and it is precisely this spirit that has carried humanity as far as it has come today. London skeletons. Right beneath the bustling streets of modern London, a chilling secret that had been buried for centuries was recently brought to light. During an excavation project for a major new development, archaeologists uncovered the Bedlam burial ground, hidden deep below Liverpool Street. This site once served as the final resting place for more than 3,000 people, most of whom were victims of some of the deadliest plagues in British history, especially the terrifying waves of the Black Death that ravaged Europe over many centuries. The scene underground left even the most seasoned researchers speechless. Human skeletons lay crowded together, silent for over 4 centuries, serving as a haunting reminder of a dark chapter when London was repeatedly devastated by major outbreaks from 1569 all the way to 1738. Many were buried hastily, without gravestones or identities, as the ferocity of the disease left families no time or means to give their loved ones a proper farewell. Even more astonishing, beneath this ancient burial layer, archaeologists discovered traces of an old Roman road. This finding is evidence that the history of this area stretches back even further. The road had once been built by the Romans to connect settlements thousands of years before England became part of the Roman Empire. This discovery not only deepens the strata of time within the city, but also offers a new perspective on London's formation, a place where every inch of earth hides strange, sometimes tragic, and sometimes extraordinary stories. Today, as Londoners rush along Liverpool Street, few realize that just beneath their feet lie the silent fragments of countless lives lost to plagues, wars, and historical upheavals. Each excavation, each artifact brought to the surface serves as a powerful reminder that all the splendor of the present is built upon the dust of the past. A past sometimes only a few meters below, yet filled with countless mysteries that have never been fully told. Non-human rock art. Deep within the arid Sahara Desert, the ancient rock paintings of Wadi Sura II have astonished archaeologists. Alongside the unmistakable imprints of human hands, pressed in the distinctive reds, browns, and yellows, researchers discovered many strange markings. Small, slender hands with long, pointed fingers that do not seem to belong to any human being. At first, experts assumed these might be the handprints of infants, but after careful comparison with the actual size of young children's hands, they realized the markings were a complete mismatch. The truth emerged when a researcher happened to notice that these mysterious hands bore a striking resemblance to the feet of reptiles, possibly lizards or crocodiles, which once thrived in this region thousands of years ago. The use of animal imprints, alongside human handprints, suggests that ancient people were not only recording their own presence, but also honoring and venerating the animals that shared their world, beings that were important in daily life, spiritual belief, or even ancient mythology. These images are not merely primitive works of art, they are messages to future generations, revealing a world in which humans and animals shared a sacred space. The bigger question remains: why did ancient people choose to immortalize reptile tracks beside their own hands? Perhaps it was a ritual, a symbol of natural power, or simply an effort to preserve the presence of all living creatures within the community. Whatever their true meaning, these mysterious traces have opened a new window onto the minds of the ancient Sahara's inhabitants, people who found ways to blend their lives with those of animals and who learned to tell the story of their world with every stroke upon the stone, leaving us today both curious and awestruck. The decline of Cahokia. The mystery of a vanished civilization. Few today would guess that among the empty fields of present-day southern Illinois, there once stood one of the largest and most bustling cities on the North American continent before Columbus arrived. Cahokia was not only the greatest center north of Mexico, but in its heyday was often called the London of the Americas. To enter that city was to be overwhelmed by colossal earthen mounds, vast, carefully planned constructions holding secrets of astronomy, religion, and power. Cahokia was a thriving metropolis, a place where people from all directions came to make a living, to trade, and to worship. Unlike any other ancient city in North America, it was a melting pot of many ethnicities, creating a vibrant tapestry of culture and daily life. Houses, plazas, and public spaces were arranged with remarkable precision, reflecting a deep knowledge of astronomy among its builders. The largest mounds, like Monk's Mound, rise nearly 100 feet and stretch over dozens of acres, once serving as the heart of religious rituals and the seat of the city's leadership. Yet beneath this splendor lay secrets as dark as they are haunting. Archaeological evidence shows that the people of Cahokia engaged in human sacrifice rituals of remarkable brutality. Within the burial mounds, researchers have found hundreds of bodies, many strangled or decapitated, most of them young women, as well as men bearing the marks of savage torture. Strangely, there are no signs of external invasion. The city's massive fortifications appear to have been built not to ward off enemy armies, but rather to guard against dangers arising within the community itself. So what brought about the downfall of Cahokia, a city once so powerful and prosperous, leaving it abandoned within just a few generations? Around the year 1350, the people of Cahokia quietly left, abandoning their monumental works and leaving behind mysteries yet unsolved. The city, once the pride of the Mississippian people, vanished from the collective memory of native tribes, never to be mentioned again in legend or epic. The real cause of Cahokia's collapse remains a subject of endless debate. Some theories point to climate change, with extended droughts causing water and food shortages. Other researchers suggest that overuse of resources led to exhausted soil, unable to sustain the city's population. Still, others suspect internal strife, social instability, or the decline of religious authority eroded trust and pushed residents to depart. Whatever the reason, Cahokia stands as a powerful symbol of how fragile even the greatest civilizations can be. The massive mounds that still rise above the prairie are both a reminder and a challenge to future generations to keep searching for answers about a city that once made an entire continent take notice. And perhaps it is the very silence of Cahokia, the way its people vanished into the mists of time, that gives this mystery its enduring, irresistible allure. The horrifying mummy of a Peruvian teenager. In the heart of Peru, where the wind sweeps across dusty highlands, archaeologists have unexpectedly uncovered a mystery buried for more than 1,000 years, the mummy of a teenager, discovered in an ancient tomb near the capital city of Lima. Over a millennium has passed since this young boy was laid to rest, yet every detail of the burial ritual still bears the marks of a culture that once flourished brilliantly and then vanished suddenly into the shadows of history. Beneath the ground at the Cajamarquilla archaeological site, the teenager's body was tightly wrapped in layers of burial cloth, bound with rough, thick ropes, as if ancient priests were determined to imprison a restless soul, forbidding it from leaving the world of the living. Surrounding the mummy were ceramic vessels filled with offerings, along with small tufts of hair and scraps of human skin, evoking the image of a unique funerary rite where the boundary between life and death grew strangely thin. Experts have determined that this is one of the oldest mummified teenagers ever found along Peru's coast, dating back more than 1,000 years to the mysterious Lima culture, a city once a thriving hub of commerce, only to collapse without a trace, leaving countless questions about the fate of its inhabitants. All that remains now are echoes, mud brick pyramids, wide avenues, and vast ancient cemeteries, their silence broken only by the wind and the faint memory of ancient rituals. The appearance of those ropes in the burial of the teenager adds yet another layer of mystery. Was this a symbol of the bond between the living and the dead, or a form of magic to prevent the soul from wandering away? Many theories suggest that the ancient Lima people believed in a perilous afterlife, one where the dead needed protection and guidance through elaborate ceremonies. Or perhaps tying up the body was meant to ward off evil, to stop restless spirits from returning to haunt the living. And the story does not end there. Excavations at Cajamarquilla have revealed many ancient graves with carefully arranged mummified children, sometimes accompanied by clay dolls, everyday items, or even ropes, fragmented clues from a lost civilization. Together, they form a mysterious portrait of ancient life, beliefs, fears, and hopes in the face of death. The story of the Peruvian teenage mummy is not just a scientific quest for truth. It is also a poignant reminder of a once glorious culture, now nothing more than a fading glimmer in the memory of humankind. Deep beneath the cold, barren earth, each artifact, each mummy is a living fragment of memory, opening unanswerable questions about the existence and disappearance of cities, beliefs, and the people who once left their footprints on this land. The Nazi secret nuclear bunker in Austria. Amid the deep green mountains of rural Austria, buried beneath layers of earth and forest, lies a secret that has remained hidden for decades. This is a massive underground bunker, whose traces have only recently come to light through the lens of modern science. Remarkably, the person who uncovered this secret was not an archaeologist or a soldier, but an Austrian film director, Andrea Sulzer, drawn in by wartime intelligence reports and the mysterious presence of radiation still quietly emanating around the town of St. Jorgen an der Goosen. The investigation began with old CIA documents, revealing notes about a heavily guarded underground facility, once of interest to the Allies but later forgotten after the war. Using this collected information, Sulzer and his team began to search the suspicious area, systematically measuring radiation levels in the air. The closer they drew to the desolate plot of land, the higher the readings on their instruments climbed, confirming that this was once the center of secret activity beyond anything previously imagined. It was only when enormous machines were brought in that the thick concrete finally gave way, revealing the dark, cold corridors below. Before, the explorers stretched a vast underground labyrinth, built with the sweat, blood, and very lives of hundreds of thousands of prisoners from the nearby Molthausen concentration camp. The walls, soaked with suffering, tell the story of men forced to work relentlessly day and night, many succumbing to crushing stones, hunger, cold, and the brutality of Nazi guards. What stunned experts most were the signs indicating that this was no ordinary military factory. Evidence showed it had once been the cradle of a project to develop nuclear weapons and military technology far ahead of its time. The remains of laboratories, reinforced corridors, and rusted equipment are still scattered throughout, raising new questions about the scale and sophistication of secret experiments carried out by the Nazis in the final years of World War II. To this day, the underground bunker remains at the center of fierce debates among historians, local authorities, and the international community. Large-scale excavation and investigation have yet to be carried out due to legal hurdles and the lingering dangers of uncontrolled radiation. The mysteries of the quest for doomsday weapons and the fate of the hundreds of thousands buried in darkness are still waiting to be fully revealed. This secret nuclear bunker is not only a painful testament to a dark era, but also a powerful reminder of the thin line between great invention and unimaginable peril created by human hands. The Ancient Magician. Amid the rugged lands of Iranian Kurdistan, a mysterious discovery has stirred both the archaeological world and those fascinated by the supernatural, the unearthing of the tomb of an ancient magician named Jaromir deep beneath the earth. At first, many sensational reports claimed the tomb was as old as 12,000 years, and even linked it to legends of lost civilizations. However, Iranian archaeologists have since confirmed that the actual site is about 850 years old. Nevertheless, the irresistible allure of this story has not faded in the least. Inside the tomb lies a scene that would astonish anyone. An ancient mummy rests in a stone coffin, its body appearing almost perfectly preserved after centuries underground. The burial garments are sumptuous, adorned with exquisite jewelry, sparkling gemstones, and a striking golden crown set atop the head. Every detail suggests this was a person of high status, once respected and powerful, carrying the unmistakable mark of a bygone era. The mystery goes far beyond the extraordinary preservation of the mummy. Many theories have arisen, speculating that the figure in the coffin was not merely a great magician but perhaps a mysterious being. Some even believe this could be a hibernating Anunnaki, one of the extraterrestrial gods from ancient Eastern and Western legends said to have taught humans how to build pyramids, invent writing, and lead the rise of human civilization. The presence of such opulent artifacts, along with the remarkably intact mummy, has fueled much controversy. Some believe that if this truly is an Anunnaki, it's no wonder the tomb was quickly concealed, and only a few leaked photos and video clips remain. For those drawn to theories of ancient aliens, this discovery is a reminder that countless mysteries may still be slumbering beneath the earth, secrets that could change our understanding of human history. Whatever the true age of the tomb may be, the mummy of Jaromir and the unanswered questions that surround it have made this place one of the greatest enigmas of modern archaeology. Teaching cows to use the bathroom properly. Across vast open fields where the sound of cowbells still greets each new morning, scientists have conducted an experiment that sounds like something out of a comedy. Teaching cows to go to the bathroom in the right place, just like a household pet. It may sound hard to believe, but this story is opening up an entirely new direction for modern agriculture. It all began when researchers in Germany and New Zealand asked themselves whether young calves could learn to control their elimination habits, much like small children. They created a special environment where every time a calf relieved itself in the designated spot, it was rewarded with its favorite treats. If it accidentally went elsewhere, the scientists would gently correct the behavior by spraying a bit of unpleasant smelling water. After just a few weeks of patience and training, the unthinkable happened. The young cows quickly learned and began to seek out their toilet whenever nature called. What amazed the researchers most was the speed at which the calves learned, outpacing many toddlers going through potty training. The results not only surprised experts, but also opened up huge possibilities for managing livestock waste, one of the most pressing environmental challenges today. If farms can adopt this model on a large scale, the amount of waste and harmful gases released into the environment can be better controlled, helping to reduce greenhouse effects and soil pollution. The success of this experiment isn't just an environmental victory. It also raises fascinating questions about the intelligence, learning capacity, and adaptability of animals. Teaching cows to use a toilet isn't just a funny, real-life story. It's a testament to the tremendous potential of behavioral science, paving the way for more sustainable innovations in the future of global agriculture. The secret of making stones fly. For thousands of years, the sight of massive stones stacked atop one another has amazed and puzzled countless generations. Many ancient civilizations left their mark with colossal structures that challenge the imagination, like the pyramids of Egypt, the great stone walls of Baalbek in Lebanon, or the stone island complex of Nan Madol in the middle of the Pacific. Standing before blocks weighing hundreds or even thousands of tons, fitted together so tightly without mortar or adhesive, it's only natural to wonder, how did ancient people move and arrange these stones with such uncanny precision? Hidden behind these wonders are countless mysterious legends. One of the most famous comes from the Muslim historian Abul Hasan Ali al-Masudi. According to his account, the ancient Egyptians once knew how to use a secret piece of paper and a special rod to make stone as light as air. All it took was to place the paper under the stone and tap it gently with the rod, and the block would instantly rise, gliding smoothly along a path marked by metal stakes. The image conjures a scene straight from myth, where magic and science are seamlessly intertwined. Not just in Egypt, but in distant cultures around the world. Other legends tell of moving stones with sound, magnetism, or ancient technologies lost to time. On Nan Madol, locals believe that ancient sorcerers could lift rocks into the air using chants and special instruments. In Baalbek, the world's heaviest stones still lie unmoved atop the stone platform, defying every modern building technique. What's striking is that even in recent history, this mystery has reappeared with the strange tale of Coral Castle in Florida. Edward Leedskalnin, an immigrant, single-handedly built an entire stone castle without ever using heavy machinery or accepting help. Yet dozens of coral blocks, each weighing many tons, were somehow moved and fitted with apparent ease. Eyewitnesses have even claimed they saw the stones floating in midair, while Leedskalnin himself only quietly remarked that he had discovered the secret of the pyramids. While modern scientists have proposed various explanations involving pulleys, manpower, or ingenious lever systems, the real nature of these secrets remains unsolved. Did our ancestors possess knowledge that lies beyond today's understanding? Or are these simply legends woven over centuries to explain wonders that defy logic? The great stone walls still stand tall beneath the sky, presenting a challenge to all who come after, reminding us that the past is always full of unexpected mysteries, and sometimes the most miraculous truths are hidden in the very things we think we already know. Radio waves. In October 2021, astronomers in Australia made a startling discovery: a series of mysterious radio wave signals coming from a region near the center of the Milky Way. What made these signals remarkable was that they did not resemble any known source of radio waves ever recorded in the universe. Normally, stars, planets, and even black holes can generate radio waves, but these new signals had completely unique characteristics, leaving scientists utterly perplexed. Researchers using the ASCAP telescope determined that the signals were extremely polarized and exhibited unpredictable variations, sometimes surging in strength before vanishing without a trace. This made it extraordinarily difficult to pinpoint their origin. Some scientists speculated that this could be a completely new type of cosmic object never seen before. Perhaps a special kind of neutron star, a pulsar spinning at an unusual speed, or even a physical phenomenon never observed in the history of modern astronomy. However, the mystery surrounding these radio waves also gave rise to bolder theories, wondering whether they might be signals from an extraterrestrial civilization. While this possibility remains unconfirmed, many cannot help but be curious and hopeful that we are drawing closer to answering humanity's greatest question: are we alone in the universe? At present, scientists continue to monitor and study these signals in hopes of unraveling the mystery. The radio waves from the heart of the Milky Way have become a hot topic, not only among astronomers, but also within the broader community of space enthusiasts, sparking a wave of debate and imagination about the unknown wonders still waiting to be discovered in the vast reaches of outer space. the volcano god of ancient tribal times. If you have ever thought that humanity's gods were nothing more than personifications of the supernatural forces of nature, then the origins of Yahweh in Judaism and Christianity might make you reconsider the entire history of faith. Many modern studies suggest that, before becoming the supreme deity of an entire civilization, Yahweh was once an ancient volcano god, closely associated with tribes who lived on the distant Arabian Peninsula. This origin is not without foundation. Sigmund Freud, one of the most famous psychoanalysts of the 20th century, once put forward a controversial theory that Yahweh, in fact, originated from the volcano worship of semi-nomadic tribes living around geologically active regions. According to Freud, the image of the burning bush, the bush that Moses saw in the Bible, could actually be a metaphorical description of an erupting volcano, with flames and smoke billowing furiously in the middle of the desolate desert. Freud was not alone. Many modern scholars agree that descriptions of Yahweh in ancient texts are marked by traits of a volcano deity. Yahweh often appears amidst smoke and fire, in the midst of storms, and even his voice is said to thunder from the mountaintops. The biblical accounts of Moses meeting God atop Mount Sinai also match the phenomena commonly seen in areas with volcanic activity: fire, smoke, thunderous roaring, and the ground itself shaking. Some archaeological studies have even pointed out that the land of Midian, where legend has it Moses met Yahweh, once had powerful volcanoes in ancient times. If this theory proves true, humanity's religious history might need to be rewritten. It raises profound questions about the development of monotheistic beliefs. Could it be that the faith in a single God arose from actual experiences and the terror inspired by the destructive power of volcanoes? Or was it the result of a process in which human beings gradually abstracted natural phenomena into transcendent symbols as they began to transform the forces of nature into divine representations? The debates around this subject are far from settled. Some scholars defend the traditional view, maintaining that the elements of fire and smoke are merely symbolic, representing divine power. Others remain steadfast in the theory of Yahweh's volcanic origins, seeing it as a clear reflection of the religious evolution of humanity, from polytheism to monotheism, from the worship of nature to the reverence of a single creator. Whatever the truth may be, the origins of Yahweh remain a fascinating mystery, illustrating the deep connection between nature, religion, and history. If one day archaeological, linguistic, and cultural evidence should all converge, humanity may have to confront one of the most earth-shattering truths about the origins of its own faith: that the supreme God is not only the creator of the world, but may also be the embodiment of one of the most terrifying forces ever to exist on Earth, the volcano. The piranha attack in Argentina. There are summer days in South America when the heat becomes stifling, the ground scorched, and the air seems to offer no shelter at all. During times like these, the rivers become a paradise for entire communities looking to cool off. But in 2014, in a riverside city in Argentina, that scene of refreshment suddenly turned into a disaster in the blink of an eye. The intense heat drove crowds of people, children, and the elderly alike into the water, all searching for a moment of relief. Laughter, splashing, and cheerful voices echoed over the river, and it seemed nothing could disturb the festive atmosphere. Yet, beneath the surface, nature was silently preparing for a calamity no one could have foreseen. As people played in the water, hundreds of small shadows suddenly darted forward, sharp teeth glinting in the sunlight. These were the infamous piranhas, known for their ferocity. In a matter of moments, the water turned red, accompanied by screams that erupted along the riverbank. The school of fish attacked the most vulnerable parts of the body, feet, fingers, leaving dozens of people covered in bloody wounds. More than 70 victims had to scramble out of the water, blood streaming from bite marks. Some children even lost fingers in the panic. What began as an ordinary summer day instantly became a horrifying memory that no one would ever wish to recall. Rarely do piranhas attack humans in such large numbers, as these fish usually act only when they feel threatened or when food becomes scarce. Experts believe this event was caused by a combination of factors. The higher water temperatures made the fish more aggressive, the numbers of caimans, the piranha's natural predators, had fallen sharply, upsetting the ecosystem's balance, and the sudden presence of hundreds of people created chaos, triggering the piranha's hunting instincts. The piranha attack in Argentina was not just an unusual accident. It was a stark reminder of the fragile relationship between humans and the wild. When the environment changes, animal behavior can shift in unpredictable ways, and in just a moment of carelessness, the natural order can be upended, leaving behind consequences no one expected. Perhaps, after this event, people will think twice before stepping into the river, reminded of the small but powerful creatures that still linger quietly just beneath the seemingly peaceful surface. The beast Teju jaguar. Deep within the South American rainforest, the legend of Teju jaguar continues to haunt and captivate those with a passion for exploring the world of mythology. In the memory of the Guarani people, an ancient nation living in Paraguay, Teju jaguar is the embodiment of chaos and the power of darkness, a creature that is both terrifying and mysterious, echoing the wildness of the untamed earth. According to the Guarani, Teju jaguar is no ordinary being, but the offspring of the evil god Tao, who represented all that was wicked in the old stories. Tao was punished by the gods for unforgivable sins, cursed so that his descendants would forever take monstrous forms, belonging neither to the world of men nor to that of the gods. When Tao's lover, Karana, gave birth to Teju jaguar, fear spread through the forests and mountains. This child was like nothing else in existence. It had the body of a giant lizard, covered in thick, armored scales, but most disturbing of all were its 7 dog heads, each with glowing red eyes like burning coals, and each able to spit fire powerful enough to scorch ancient trees in a single instant. According to legend, Teju jaguar does not simply roar fiercely, it is said to shake the earth itself whenever it crawls across the land. Some claim that, despite its monstrous appearance, the beast moves very slowly, as the heavy heads constantly fight for control of the body. Even so, not even the bravest warriors would dare come close, for the fiery gaze of Teju jaguar could drive away anyone who thought to trespass upon its domain. For the Guarani, the existence of this creature stands as vivid proof of the blend between divine punishment and nature's strangest experiments. What is remarkable is that many folktales say Teju jaguar is not entirely evil. Beneath its tough scales and fearsome exterior, the beast sometimes appears as a guardian of hidden treasures in the deep forest, protecting valuable resources from the greed of outsiders. Some legends even suggest that the unusual mixture of divine, demonic, and animal blood in its veins is what gives Teju jaguar its extraordinary strength, making it a symbol of the complexity of the natural world, where good and evil are always intertwined and never easily separated. Today, whenever night falls across the hills of Paraguay, the elders still tell the younger generations about distant flashes of fire, signs that may be the last traces of Teju jaguar, the immortal monster of South American legend, who still keeps watch over the greatest secrets of the ancient forest. A blood-soaked exorcism ritual in the Panamanian jungle. Deep in the rainforests of Panama, where sunlight can barely pierce through the thick layers of leaves, the year 2020 witnessed a tragedy beyond imagination. This was not just a murder case, it was a horrifying story about the dark power of fanatic belief, where human minds are led astray by fear and blind dogma. In a remote indigenous village, a cult known as the New Light of God gradually rose to prominence with their bizarre rituals. At first, their gatherings were quiet, spreading whispers of miracles, salvation, and the cleansing of sins. No one could have foreseen that this faith would eventually lead the entire community into a mire of inescapable crime. On a gloomy night, self-proclaimed leaders of the cult began to perform exorcism rituals on those they believed to be guilty of sin. The victims were tied up in a makeshift shack deep in the jungle, where the physical abuse began with shocking brutality. Prayers rang out amid the screams and agony as blood soaked into the damp earth. Under the guise of purifying the soul, 7 people, including children, were tortured, burned, and ultimately left forever in the lonely depths of the forest. The rescue only began when a few victims managed to escape the cult leaders and ran through the jungle to alert authorities. When police arrived, they were confronted with a scene straight out of a nightmare. Survivors bound and injured, fresh graves hastily dug nearby. Ritual tools were scattered around, and the leaders of the cult stood in silence, haunted by the souls that had just left this world. This event sent shockwaves throughout Panama and horrified people around the world, exposing the dark side of faith when it crosses the boundaries of reason. The story of this blood-soaked exorcism serves not only as a grim warning about the dangers of extremism, but also reveals a frightening hidden corner of modern life deep in the jungle. When people lose their ability to distinguish right from wrong in a haze of superstition, heartbreaking tragedies can happen at any time, even in an era we think of as the most civilized. The legend of Persephone and the Cave of Hades. In the treasure trove of Greek mythology, the story of Persephone has always left listeners pondering the mysteries behind the changing of the seasons. Persephone was the daughter of Demeter, the goddess of harvest and life upon the earth. Yet her life was far from peaceful, as Hades suddenly abducted Persephone and took her to the dark underworld. From that moment, a strange pact determined her fate. Persephone was allowed to return to the surface for only half of the year. For the other half, she was forced to remain in the cold depths of the underworld at Hades' side. Each time Persephone left the mortal world, sorrow and despair overwhelmed her mother, Demeter. That was when all life on earth withered, the grass lost its green, and the cold winter descended as a reminder of the pain between mother and daughter. But when Persephone returned, joy burst forth, everything revived, new buds appeared on the trees, and spring filled the fields once more. It is Persephone's journey between these two worlds that became the symbolic explanation for the 4 seasons on Earth, a way for the ancients to express both their faith and longing through nature. Today, if you visit the sacred region of Alusa, near the northern edge of the sanctuary, you will find an ancient cave perched atop grey stone steps. There, the cave of Hades still silently endures, forever linked to these old legends. Opposite stands the Temple of Demeter, surrounded by a quiet landscape where strange plants grow among mossy cliffs, and narrow, shadowy paths descend deep into the earth, as if opening into another world. This is not only a historical site, but a place that sends chills down the spine of visitors, shrouded in an atmosphere of stillness and the sacred. Locals still whisper that if you are not careful, Hades himself might once again appear to silently escort someone down into the endless darkness below. That cave remains a bridge between reality and dreams, between mythology and truth, a reminder to all who enter to show reverence for the ancient mysteries still etched into every stone and carried on every chilly breeze. If you found these mysterious stories intriguing, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next explorations. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.